Now to that stunning arrest of the drug kingpin who goes by the name Dread Pirate Roberts. Appears to have cornered the internet drug market. His real name is Ross Ulbricht, and his website, Silk Road, is packed with products like cocaine and heroin.
The biggest criminal trial in the history of the internet is over this morning, and so apparently is Ross Ulbricht's freedom.
The FBI calls it the most sophisticated criminal marketplace on the internet.
So what was the Silk Road? Why was it created? And ultimately, what happened to the creator, Ross Ulbricht? The Silk Road was an anonymous online marketplace created by Ross Ulbricht in 2011. Ross claimed to have created the site as he desired an open marketplace where anything could be sold without government regulation. Any transaction regarding goods or services that could harm third parties, such as porn, weapons, hitmen, stolen credit cards, etc., were not allowed to be sold on the site. This still ended in the sale of illicit goods on the Silk Road, as 70% of the transactions on the site were drugs, mostly small quantities of marijuana. To keep the website entirely anonymous, it could only be accessed through a Tor browser, which does something called onion routing. Ultimately, onion routing uses multiple layers of encryption to conceal both the destination and source of the information sent. This allows everyone on the website to be anonymous with no IP addresses. Then, Bitcoin was used for all transactions, which does technically have all the transactions public on the blockchain, but is impossible to track down the location or identity of the routing and receiving accounts, keeping all the transactions still anonymous. The site also had a systematic vendor and customer system, as admins searched for scammers and con artists while also mitigating and authorizing those who could be vendors on the site. The vendors themselves also had a review system much like Yelp. Ross Ulbricht was the founder of the Silk Road, and it went by the name Dread Pirate Roberts, which was taken from the Princess Bride movie. Although Ross didn't make commissions from the site, he claimed he only created it and then gave control to other anonymous online admins he trusted. This also brings up theories about his name, as DPR in the movie has multiple people behind the name.
I am not the Dread Pirate Roberts, he said. My name is Ryan.
Ross claims to have not been part of the drug dealing, but was aware and did make commissions off of it. Dread Pirate Roberts is connecting to ordering multiple hits on people who blackmailed him, none of which were executed. He paid for the hits, but it turned out to be an elaborate hoax/con scheme. It is believed that the same people blackmailing him were the people organizing the hits and collecting the sums. Ulbricht claims that none of this was him, and that his account was compromised or hacked by dirty cops who also ended up being involved in the scam. Unfortunately, the news story of Ulbricht organizing the hits had already been made very public before his trial, making it hard to find an unbiased jury. Ulbricht was also criticized by the media for being an anarchist drug pin, which also did not help the bias in his trials. On top of this, many government officials wanted to make an example out of Ulbricht, as they believed many websites like this would be built in the future and wanted to scare off other culprits. While commissioning the site, Dread Pirate Roberts reaped in $13 million of Bitcoin at the time, which is now believed to be $3.4 billion today, due to Bitcoin's rising price since 2013. In 2015, Ulbricht was charged with 7 felonies. Ross Ulbricht was sentenced to 2 life sentences with 40 years without the possibility of parole. The judge pointed to 6 overdose deaths that were linked to the website, putting them on Ulbricht since he created the Silk Road. Still, no victims were able to be named at the trial, as Ulbricht didn't directly sell any drugs, and they bought them under their own will. Even today, many believe this sentence is extremely harsh for a first-time offender with non-violent charges. His defense attorney also brought up the fact of the lack of evidence due to DPR being anonymous and them not being able to prove that Ulbricht had control of the account the entire time. The attorney also brought up the 2 dirty cops involved in the investigation that profited off drug sales, set up scams on the site, possibly falsified the entire hit scheme to make a stronger case against Ulbricht. All the other defendants, including the largest drug distributors on the site, were sentenced to at most 10 years in prison. Ulbricht lost his appeal in 2017 and will not get a chance of parole until 2052. Ross Ulbricht has been in prison for 10 years now. He's been called a model prisoner and a good influence on those around him. He has taught science and math classes and helped tutor other prisoners. He's also led yoga and meditation classes to help fellow prisoners cope with anxiety and depression. Ross currently leads the prison support group and is a mediator for his unit prison cell. 130 of Ulbricht's fellow prisoners have signed a petition asking the president to grant him clemency. Ross's parents also say that he was just an idealistic entrepreneur who believed in the free market and privacy. Ross has come out saying that he never intended any harm, understands how his illegal e-commerce site was wrong, and dreams of a second chance at life.